it's Michelle Lightworker here, and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. We are actually streaming live from the Sunshine Coast, and it is quite sunny today, of Sunshine Coast, Australia. We are in Queensland, and I am excited today because I have a wonderful guest joining me, Kaye Iliopoulos. And so she's also from a Greek descent. And for those of you who don't know, I'm also from a Greek descent, and very excited to share space with a fellow Grecian. Kaye Iliopoulos is a self-improvement author, an energy, flower essence and crystal healing practitioner. So goody gumdrops. Kaye is passionate about guiding individuals to relearn how to heal their physical, mental, emotional and spiritual selves. She's also a speaker and teacher, facilitating seminars, workshops and meditation sessions to support other souls on their spiritual journey. And her first published book, Living in Light, Love and Truth, was awarded a Living Now 2015 Evergreen Book Bronze Medal for spiritual leadership, and she also received an honourable mention in 2017 at the Hollywood Book Festival Awards in the spiritual category. So congratulations to her for that. She's also written a second book, and it's called How to Create Positive Energy in Your Space. So as you know, I'm very passionate about increasing our vibrational energy, so it's wonderful to hear a bit more about how she delves into that. This book also won a silver medal in 2017 Living Now Book Awards, and received the honourable mention and home category in the 2017 Book Excellence Awards, and she also received the runner-up in the Hollywood Book Festival Awards. Whew. So Kaye's been a busy girl, and also is going to be joining us very soon. I'm waiting for her to pop up on my stream so I can invite her, and I'm sure I'll see her soon. So for now, I'm going to just mention a few really cool things that are happening. Well, as you know, Enlightened Conversations, you might not know, but if you've been watching Enlightened Conversations at all over the last couple of years, we have now branched out into the realm of 5D TV. So some of our episodes are now on 5D TV, which, if you haven't checked out 5D TV, it's a fabulous 24/7 ad-free streaming content for conscious TV shows and films and podcasts and movement sessions, and also we've also now got a festival as well, so that's cool. 5D TV is at 5D TV. It's 5D, the word 5, F-I-V-E, D.TV. So that's how you find us on the web. And Enlightened Conversations is actually very, very excited to be involved with 5D TV and having our shows on there. But we also have another very exciting thing to announce, which is we have been officially granted permission to stream our Enlightened Conversations on 5D TV public page, which is extraordinarily exciting because it means that we will just build the energy of Enlightened Conversations to a really receptive audience who are ready to receive us, and also our hosts who have been providing wonderful Enlightened Conversations. If you are interested in becoming a host of Enlightened Conversations and getting involved with us at 5D TV, please contact me and let me know, okay? I also want, while I'm waiting for Kaye to appear, because I still can't see that Kaye has appeared on the screen yet, I would like to announce that we have a live stream with one of our other hosts, Raul Estevez, and he's actually going to be chatting to, I love her name. Her name is Pretty Mystery. So, oh, hi Kaye, Cassie's there. Oh, I'm not sure how to invite you in. How do I invite you in? Bring Cassie, there we are, gotcha. Talk about Raul talking about Pretty Mystery very soon. We're just adding Kaye, we gotcha. So excited. Hello.
Hello.
Hey. I don't know if anybody can hear me. I put my earphones on, didn't I? Golly geez, I've got my earphones in. Could you hear anything I was saying?
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, thank God. My little microphone did the job for me. It was just next to me. How are you, Cassie?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
I'm really good. So how's the weather down there in Melbourne?
It is actually beautiful. Blue skies, a little bit of clouds, but sunny, which I'm happy about.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we've got some sunshine. We've had rain all week, so it's nice to have a bit of sprinkles sunshine and just really soak it up. But I'm a bit of a sunshine person.
Love it. Love the sunshine. Yeah.
You have been a really busy person, Cassie. I was reading your wonderful bio, and you just really have put your energy into some beautiful concrete forms with your 2 books, and I'm excited to. I'm really excited to hear a bit more about them. I'm finding your first book, Living in Light, Love and Truth, really speaks loudly to my own heart, because one of my principles. Well, actually, let's go 2 of my principles. 2 of my principles of the everyday Lightworker principles that I live by, which there's 12 of them in total. One of them is honesty. So, like, truth is very important to me. And the other one is love. So I'm really curious. Can you tell me a little bit more about your book and what you covered in that? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, in Living in Light, Love and Truth, it's more based about looking within ourselves. So it's about taking responsibility for who we are. We can't change anything that's outside of us, but we can actually change who we are as an individual. And it's probably one of the most challenging things to actually look in the mirror and say, well, who am I? And why do I do the things that I do? And why do I say the things that I do? And it's quite daunting for a lot of people, but you have to also have that self-kindness to say, well, I'm not perfect and I know I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to be better than what I was. So self-reflection, it's about knowing who you are, because we often live in the ego element and we believe that's who we are, but we're actually a soul. So honesty within self and recognizing what we do and why we do it, it just opens up a lot of avenues for everyone to say, well, I understand I did that, but I want to be better or reach my potential, so now I will do this. So
yeah. And then it becomes really conscious choices. Well, you're being conscious of your inside, of your truth of who you really are, and hopefully being conscious of the elements of your personality that are expressions of your nature in this lifetime, which can be perceived as ego, but we can work with those as well. We can enlighten those as well and find the truth and the essence of those parts as well. And then live a more honest life, live a more truthful life, like in connection with ourselves, that's the essence, I think, of true love, not in a narcissistic way, but just in a really authentic way. Like, if I can love all the bits and pieces of myself that perhaps one day I said to myself, oh God, I hate that about myself, but if I could find a way to love those bits for how they have served me, then I'm able to then translate that across into my relationships, and then I'm able to be at peace with those relationships and those people and have a really deep, meaningful connection, right?
Yeah. It's all, for me, it's all about balance. What I often say, if we're just a soul, we wouldn't be in this physical life. We'll be up there helping, humanity and the greater consciousness, but we're actually a soul in a physical body. So for us, it's about balance of us as a spiritual being and also as a physical being. We're here being in the physical body is our only means to learn. So there's a lot of balance. Like you can't be too much on one side or too much on the other side, because then you don't have that balance. So I totally agree. Like, there's going to be parts of us, we need our personality, we need our ego. We can't exist without it. But it's just about knowing why we do things and whether it's something that we continue to keep on learning, or something, if we unlearn it, if it's, detrimental or not beneficial to who we are. Because there's a lot of things that we go through in adult life that we have to unlearn that we've learned in our early years. And it's just recognizing, what am I supposed to learn, what am I supposed to unlearn, and what am I supposed to magnify of what I know.
Yeah. And everything's like, it's like everything is serving us, right? Everything is serving us. Everything that's happened in our life, even the stuff we have to unlearn, it's there so that the process of unlearning is experienced and and reintegrated into. And also, I think too, from my point of view, I've got lots more compassion for other people who are in that space where they still have to unlearn stuff, because I've had to walk that path myself. It's given me a more of a place of compassion for other people, really has. And what would you say for yourself right now would be your, I guess, your biggest challenge, like what you would need to unlearn to get to that next level, like Neville. Neville. Yeah. Maybe it's got something to do with our navel. But yeah, I'm curious because I might reflect on that as well and see what comes out for me.
I think a lot of the unlearning comes from what we've learnt through family of origin, what we've learnt from our family, from our community, from our friends. And, there's a lot of belief systems that we grow up believing because that's what we've known our whole entire lives. And when you actually say, well, why do I believe that? Does it ring true to me, who I am? A lot of the time we can't actually place why we believe something. It's just because we've known it for so long. And that's the time where many people will go through and say, well, I've believed this all this entire time. And it can be I believe it can be a challenging experience, because everything that you know, when you understand that it's probably not real or not the absolute truth, you sort of like start to question, well, what have I been doing these last couple of years? What have I been doing for my life up until this point? So it's a crunch time point where you have to remain positive and say, well, let me look at the opportunities that are out there now that I'll be able to bring into my life. Interesting, years ago I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about the homeless. And I said, I was in my early 20s, and I said, I don't understand why they don't, go that next step and really improve their lives. And the response I got back, which was, and the response I got back just opened my mind up. They said they don't know that life. So if they don't know that life exists, how can they ever aim for it?
You know what? It's so amazing that you're mentioning that now, because I was literally having this thought earlier today, and I was thinking, I don't know, it came out of maybe somewhere that we're plugged into at the same time. Yeah. Because I was actually thinking today, people can't recognise what my daughter's just got glasses. Actually, it was triggered for my daughter because she sent me a photo of herself with her cute new glasses, and she's never had glasses before. And she said to me, oh my God, I can see now. It's just like, I can actually read. And I was like, oh my God. And I had this amazing realization that, of course, you didn't know you couldn't see before, really, until you actually got the glasses. And that's what triggered that thought off for me. It's the same kind of thing. We kind of don't know what we don't know. And I think, the way to the true essence of our heart space and love for other people and compassion for the world is actually really from that space of people just don't know what they don't know. Exactly. And if we're beating up on, society and stuff like that, because they're so, you could, off the cuff remark here and there, so fucking idiotic or whatever they are, it might sort of seem like off the cuff, but in essence, it's like we're rejecting a part of ourselves. When you were talking about really kind of allowing yourself to embrace those imperfections and
like in your book, and you were saying that. It's like in everyday life, we're granted those opportunities, aren't we? We really are. We do. You only have to turn the news on for a second.
Yeah.
You want a spiritual challenge? Just go turn on the news.
Exactly.
Watch it for 5 minutes. Try and stay in a heart space and see how you go. Rate it out of 10.
Yeah, exactly. It is around us, and we need to, I believe that we need to use our spirituality to actually bring peace into probably the more physical or, you know, ego-driven situations. I mean, it's so easy. I mean, me, for example, I would love to go into the mountains and meditate for the rest of my life, and I'll be happy. But we have to bring peace into the situations that are surrounding us, and they're not pleasant. A lot of them aren't pleasant, but that's, you know, I guess from the element of service, what we can do to actually bring some peace to situations that sometimes are volatile.
I totally resonate with you.
Being aware of who we are.
Yes. I totally resonate
that's what I
with you.
believe. I mean, I think everyone would like.
I think I think a lot of people fear being on the mountain because, you know, initially when they've come from an unconscious place, go, oh, I don't want to be on the mountain. I don't want to know what's in my head. You know, that kind. I can understand when they're at that point too. But I think, you just get to the point where you go, well, I could sit in my room and meditate all day, but am I really doing anything to change the world right now? Like, if I don't take action, especially if I've been meditating for a while and then I'm getting these action-based messages from my spiritual guidance saying, well, you need to do this and you need to do that. Go do this. You can do that now. You're ready. Step up. La la la. And that, and then not acting on that is like, it's like, you know, not allowing ourselves to really go that next step, isn't it? Like that we've been told to do. And I'm curious for you, like, because of the essence of the name of that book, Living in Light, Love and Truth. What's your biggest challenge right now that if you were going to say, well, this is my next step here, what would it be? Like, what are you overcoming or what are you going through right now?
I would say my next, I wouldn't even call it challenge, but my next step is just moving forward and bring some peace to those situations that we are surrounded by. I just feel we can all sort of like do the spiritual work and raise our vibration, but who's going to you know, be there for the people that need a little extra help? So just looking at what's happening in our society, and, you know, about the news, I never used to watch the news because it used to, I did it just to keep my vibration high. But now I actually watch the news and I put myself in the scenario or in the situations that are around us. I mean, this is, I believe, why some of us are here, to actually raise the vibration of what is around us and the reality of what other people's reality, and to be able to give them a bit of hope and light and peace. So that's my, I guess, transition at the moment, to be able to do that and give some hope in, I'm particularly looking at bullying and manipulation that exists in our world at the moment. So how do we put the spiritual understanding as well as the physical understanding behind those situations? Because from a spiritual perspective, we just all say, well, it's so unnecessary. Yeah. But even though it's unnecessary, it is a reality in a lot of people's worlds.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. And what ways are you finding to bring that peace to those situations? What, like, practical ways should we know about? I'd really like you to share those with everybody.
What I've done is actually research from a spiritual perspective, what are our divine rights? Like, what, as a soul, what are we entitled to in this life? So it's firstly understanding that, you know, we've got entitlements from a spiritual perspective. And also dispelling the whole, we've got to be kind to everyone, and taking it back to, you've got to be kind to yourself first. So if something doesn't feel right within, or it's to your detriment or to your disadvantage, it's okay to speak up, because that's why we've got them out. So it's about allowing someone to understand what their rights are from a divine perspective, and then also understanding what their legal rights, because I think we've got into a space where, you know, what I've seen, but we encourage people to sort of like not speak up, because speaking up can be deemed as not spiritual, and that's what I'm challenging. So I'm my hope is
well,
for
throat
people.
chakra, it's very spiritual speaking up.
Yeah,
Your throat chakra's
absolutely.
open. You can do it with your higher self, and then it's a
Yeah.
very spiritual exercise, isn't it?
You can always do it from the heart. Like speaking up or,
Mm.
you know, being assertive to a certain point doesn't mean that you're not being spiritual. In actual fact, when we speak up, and especially speak up for other people, we're helping them as well. So that's part of my next journey, focusing on that. So I've taken a sort of bit of a sideline from what I've personally experienced, and sharing that, because I believe, and you're probably the same, we go through experiences, and going through them, we're able to then help other people go through the same.
Oh my God, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And, you know, like it helps us to not sort of feel like we're the victim anymore either, because these things are happening to us versus what we can be looking at on a spiritual level to take ownership of as to why perhaps we have a need to have that healing, because I think a bullying experience is actually a healing experience. People might not see it that way. They might see it as a terrible experience, but it's part of that process of perhaps shaking things up to heal something. And it's just, you know, have we got the message that's come through about what we need to do in our lives to do differently to create a different reality for ourselves? I know for me that those times in my life where I felt bullied or I felt that kind of disempowering is the word I'm looking for, that disempowering energy, they were actually times where I was actually ready not maybe ready to stretch to that point of learning how to feel empowered in myself. And so this opportunity, which was extraordinarily challenging, by the way, but anyway, going through it, gave me this opportunity to go, hey, I've got to do something different. I really do. And I need to step into my yes, and I need to step into my no. I can't just step into my no, and I can't just step into a yes towards them. You know, I need to step into my yes, and I need to step into my no, and start to really make some changes in my life.
And that's an excellent point about the yes and no. Because if you say yes to you, unfortunately for others, it means saying no to them. So it's about differentiating between being kind to oneself opposed to being kind outward. Because if you're not kind in here first, then it's not really kindness that comes out. It's more about being, you know, maybe perhaps insecure or submissive in terms of your own value.
Exactly.
So it's absolutely about differentiating that and not feeling bad for establishing boundaries. I think boundaries are important. And it's enabling people to understand that, you know, you have those divine rights, you have legal rights. You also have the ability to set boundaries, know what your boundaries are, understand the situation, not from a person perspective, because I also encourage that at the end of the day, you have to love the bully.
Yeah.
Because that it's still a child of God, I see it as, but you still have to love them. And it's differentiating between forgiving the person, but not forgiving the behaviour, because it's the behaviour that is the problem and not necessarily the person, because they're just acting out.
And if they're doing like a microcosm, or if they're the macrocosm of the microcosm, like just say, for instance, they're the one acting out what we do to ourselves, but they're doing it on a more obvious level. If we take it back to ourselves and go, how do I do that to me? And how are they being a bigger mirror of that aspect of me, triggering me to change what I'm doing with my behaviour? Then we really do feel empowered, because we can't blame the bully anymore for being a bully. All we can do is say, well, thank you, bully, love you. Thank you for bringing that to my attention that, I do that to myself. And I'm ready to shift that, and I'm going to own that now. And then you've done your job. Thank you. I'm really grateful. And then you can't have that, you know, hatred or, well, it just dissolves. How can you be grateful and hateful at the same time? I mean, it just, to me, it just dissolves, and then you don't create illness for yourself, and all that manifesting of that acid and all that, you know, acid environment creates cancer. So you don't have all that going on, and then you're resolving all of that, and you're more in the beautiful, a real authentic, isn't it? Though it's authentic peace. It's not like I'm going to be peaceful, I'm so peaceful. It's actually fake, fake peace. BS peace. It's not that. It's real, authentic, and I love the name of your book, Living in Light, Love, and Truth.
That
I
was
love
something that came up. I knew from the very start that that's what the title of it was going to be. And it's interesting because that's what was coming through, and I thought, okay, I'm going to title it that, and that's essentially what it is. But finding, that light and love and truth within ourselves. We as individuals are so powerful to change our lives. And I truly think there's so many people that underestimate that power within, but you've got to look in first to find it. And I always encourage people, be gentle when you look back on past situations, because retrospect is an absolute gift. You see it you look back and you think, I see what happened, and then you can actually take the learnings from it. And some people don't want to even look back to be able to learn from it, but I encourage it. Look back on it. Don't experience it again. Just observe it. So there's those techniques of observing and not reliving are also important to not being caught up in, that going through the feelings and emotions, because you don't want to do that. You just want to look as a third person to say, well, what can I learn from it? Why did this happen? Because those type of things will happen again and again and again until we actually learn from it. So it's about stopping that repetitive.
Yeah, I agree with you. Being a trauma specialist and helping a lot of people with PTSD for a lot of years, I can see the similarity between PTSD, which is repeating the same thing over and over in our heads and re-experiencing. And because it hasn't resolved, and this is what usually happens when you actually go in, find the gifts, find the reason, find the meaning, it actually takes the emotional heightenedness out of it, and people actually go through a healing process, a healing grief cycle. But the same thing happens on another level with similar things. Repeat, and we find we're the common denominator, recreating a situation in our lives over and over and over and over again, so we can heal, so we can find our way through it. So I totally relate to what you're saying. Hey. It's only until we actually allow ourselves to reflect, actually allow ourselves to look at it from that perspective of objectivity, of how did this serve me, what can I learn from it, what can I gain from it, what skills have I learned, how has it improved me, what more can I do, what different choices can I make right now that will continue that improvement, and taking action every day, not just I'm going to take action, but whenever I had a client come to see me, I'd say, well, do this for the next week and then we'll talk about it and see how you went. So it wasn't about, we talked about something, then when I did nothing, came back and we talked about it some more. It was more, we talked about something, gave them some stuff to do to reinforce the stuff that we'd just done. And then it starts to get into a changed behavior pattern. Otherwise, it's just talky, and you can recycle garbage.
Yep, absolutely. It's the same thing like when we go on a health kick. It's a lifestyle change which has to become habit. So anything new that comes in, even a thought process or the way that we think or what we say, how we express ourselves, it actually has to be continued to a point where it becomes second nature. And that's the whole process of that learning. It rings true in the physical world. It rings true within our mental and emotional states. But you just got to get it to become habit. So you don't have to think so much about it. And then when it's habit, that's when things start changing in our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
totally.
It's true. And I also wanted to talk to you about your second book. My God, it's so dear to my heart. But before I do, just give me 1 second, because I've realised I left my little power charger over there, and my phone's going, you've got 10% battery. So I'm just going to quickly go do that. Hang on a sec.
Okay. Hello.
So funny. I followed my intuition to charge my battery pack, so that was good. I just forgot to think about plugging it.
They come in handy
God.
though, Michelle.
They do. Because I'm a busy bee on my phone, and like I'm busy from very early hours on my phone with different things. Just plugging that in. Are we good to go? Yes, we're good to go.
Wonderful.
So and so your second book, How to Create Positive Energy in Your Space. Oh, I love that. And is that more of the same of bringing that peace as well, or is this a different theme, or was this a catalyst to this next bit? I'm curious to find out how it all kind of flowed, you know?
Yeah. Living in light, love, and truth is all about and I liken it to, you can do so much inner work, so much inner healing, but if you're in an environment which holds dense or discordant energy, you're going to do extra work to actually clear that within. So it's about clearing the environment in which you're in. Yeah. So it's just about heal yourself first, then heal your environments. With How to Create Positive Energy in Your Space, I bring a lot of concepts into one space. So I give explanations and insight into a number of modalities and methods. So you can actually read the book and say, well, I'm interested in that. I will explore that a little bit more. So I don't go into, absolute great detail. I provide the information that is needed to be understood, to know what it's about. So, and I cover on a number of things on colour therapy, aromatherapy. I also go back into history and have a look at where was it first used and what's the significance of it. So for example, with symbology, where do these symbols come from that we use, that we know today? And just an understanding that they've been around. A lot of things have been around for thousands of years, and they carry with that energy, that energetic imprint. And it's more of a it's more of an insight to what are the things you can do to actually increase the vibration of your home, including your workspace, your car, so you can clear all that, so you don't have to actually clear energy that's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily have to be there.
And use mythologies that feel like you've got a resonance to, whether it's the aromatherapies or the vibrational therapies and colour therapy and things like that.
Intention is important. Intention is important as well. So that's right throughout the book. So intending and knowing that you can clear a space, but it's also being around our physical environment. So one example that I provide is, where is your house situated? Is it around law offices or doctors' offices? Is it near a freeway? Do you live in a standalone home? Do you live in an apartment? So it's about understanding what energy is around, because we all carry an energy frequency within our own bodies. So when we're close to people, we're able to sort of like sense their energy. So it's recognizing that what is around my environment, and am what I feeling mine or someone else's? Because as we go on our journey, we become more intuitive. We become more sensitive in terms of energy. So sometimes that can rack the brain a little bit. So it's understanding that, and how do we apply it?
Yeah, and it's all ours in unity, but it's about going. It's kind of like, this is how I learn about it. We kind of learn boundaries so that we can not really need them, because we've integrated all those aspects of those energies that we've attracted, and we're no longer attracting the polarity of it, like the escalated, full on darkest aspect of it anymore. It's just all energy. But I really, it sounds like it's sort of like you've gone inside, then outside, and then that's helping people to own their reality, but then actually claim. I'm getting this word, claim their space, claim it, because it's a worth issue. It's a self-worth issue. So that's what I'm getting. I'm getting be aware of where you are, be aware of what energies are coming in and going out, because the reality is, Kaye, you know, like we can claim our space, we can clear our car, we can clear our home, but if we're not aware of our energy versus other energies that are polarized, that are needing our attention or what have you, we won't actually be able to know how to work with those. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's important to recognize we're always going to feel energy around us. And as we increase our own soul vibration, you know, those energies, I believe, are no longer compatible to impact, to cause any effect. It's recognized, you go, okay, there's a bit of dense energy here, I get that. You blast it with light. But when we're at a lower soul vibration or soul frequency, there's a possibility that you confuse it as your own as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're tired, you got like you've had stress, you've been sideswiped, someone's told you they're dying, or you have a friend commit suicide. This happens every day. People go through this. My grandmother dies, or your pet gets run over, or like when we're in trauma, we are more susceptible, aren't we, to not knowing, because we're not grounded, not knowing what's ours and what's not ours. And when we're in that process, it's like I'm just telling people this because you could have been working on yourself for, it doesn't matter, 30 years, and you know who you are, but you know, not to actually, we need a certain level of humility to always go, you know what, hey, I could get sideswiped by something tomorrow that I don't see coming, and so I need to have that level of, you know, truth really about being a human being, and how things can get blurry. They can get blurry. Do you have any sort of like prevention or intervention tools that might help people if they feel like they're not sure? Do you have some tools that you might want to share today?
Yeah. Awareness is probably the most important. So what is also, if you live in an apartment, who's actually on the other side of the wall? And understanding, you know, just acknowledging like that, you know, what type of life or what type of, you know, lifestyle do they live? And I also provide the example that a lot of people move into a home, and you often hear that people will say, oh my God, this is the worst decision we made. Everything's been going wrong. They may experience family issues. They may experience financial issues. And it's about understanding that energy can embed in places and being aware of that. So I do explain, wherever we go, there's going to be some energy embedded in those places. So it's up to us as individuals to say, okay, what doesn't resonate with me and my soul frequency? Up you go, or send it to Mother Nature to, you know, to be cleansed and used in some positive way, even though it may be a lower vibrational energy. Because what happens if we believe it's ours, and you don't actually aren't able to differentiate between, is it energy I'm feeling or is it energy to do with my own healing? We may actually take that on. So it's about being aware that, where did this come from? If you can't explain it, or, you know, from a soul perspective or from a learning perspective, then you're probably feeling it. A lot of people will take it on board, especially if they're sensitives or empaths. They'll take it on board and say, I'm feeling like this and I don't know why. So it's about recognizing, where did I go? Where was I? And what was I sensing? And what can I do about it? And it's about alleviating that.
Yeah, like rewinding. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
those are
cool. I like that.
And like I said, when someone moves into a house and they have, you know, bad luck, so to speak, it's about recognizing that there's energy there. You can shift it. You can actually shift it. Because when we think about where we live, our homes, everything's, you know, being built from Mother Earth. So we're on, you know, a piece of land that, you know, we don't even know what happened on this piece of land. And it's also understanding the, you know, our ancestors and, you know, what happened here and what was here before, and and being able to shift that energy, because we can. So it's about empowerment as well, about recognizing it, empowerment, and understanding that the intention that you set, you can set it, but you have to like you said, you have to claim it, and you then have to set it and then believe it. But I cover things like as crystal gridding. I mean, I love crystals. A lot of people, do use them. So it's about crystal gridding homes, Himalayan salt lamps, which I can see one there.
And we got the whole house full of it.
Yeah.
mind you, having said that, Cassie, we like the ocean's just there, but I don't know how much salt we need, but we love it anyway.
Yeah, because it does. And I actually give the scientific understanding of why it works.
Oh, cool. I'd love to hear that. I've never really gone into it, but yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, like with the salt lamps, because they're heated, it draws moisture into the salt lamps. That chemical reaction actually releases negative ions. So those negative ions are believed to actually, within our bloodstream, they cross across nerve membranes and are believed to make serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone. That's how serotonin's made in our bloodstream with negative ions. So that's why we feel better. Yeah, and it's from a scientific perspective, they're wonderful. And even being near the beach during storms, in the forest, in rainforests, anywhere where nature is. That's why we feel so good when we go for a walk, into the bush or down the beach. We feel, alive, and we feel lighter because we've got all these negative ions that are reacting with our physical body.
Nice.
So, it just the explanation of how it works and why it works. Same with crystals. What else? In aromatherapy and where it started, how long it's been used for.
Sounds great. I love it. Sounds really factual as well as energetic as well. You've got the balance between, hey guys, here's a bit of the history. I kind of like that. I don't think a lot of people would even know that kind of thing. So
that's the way my brain.
Is it? What was your history before you did all this? Where were you? I'm curious, where you were before this came into play, because I love how Spirit takes us through the journey of life. Like,
my professional, I guess, be accepted out in the wider world. I worked in regulatory compliance, so I worked with legislation, and I actually love judicial law. I really love reading it, and I was actually going to become a lawyer, and decided I will study the spiritual laws of life instead of the judicial laws. So that's
how cool is that? I love
I still love law though. I absolutely love it. So my background is project management and training. So they're the areas that I worked in for so long, and they're more methodology. They're all method based. So the rationale of how things operate, and there's a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and that's where I get my, I guess, the discipline of understanding something from A to Z. And that's just how my brain works. So you can fit spirituality into that to actually understand it, because for me, if I can gain and I don't mean understanding as in the rationale, it's understanding why it occurs and what occurs after it, and how do we utilize that, to bring some peace to our soul.
Yeah.
But while living in this physical world, because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Exactly. And where can people find you? Let people know where they can actually find the wonderful Kaye Iliopoulos. I should be able to say it. They should be able to, being a Greek, they should roll off my tongue. I don't know what's going on with my tongue today.
You did pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I do have a website, which is www.cassiek.com.au. I have all through social media.
You've dropped the Illiopoulos to make it easy for people on your website, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
I understand. My mum changed, I think my mum changed her name when she was younger from Siropoulos to another name. So her friends wouldn't have to worry.
Yeah. So I just thought I'll put the Cassie Kaye. People normally remember that. And I do send out, like newsletters, and I post on Facebook. Just finishing off the third book, so I've been working on that and a few other projects. Just so
do you want to? Are you allowed to give us? Are you allowed to give us a sneaky peeky on the name or what it's about, or you kind of, is that all under wraps or?
Under wraps at the moment, but just putting the finishing touches on that. And I'm excited about that because I just want to help those people that are disempowered at the moment.
That's
the people
awesome. Well, I'm excited about that too. And when you've got that organised, we should do a quick little promo live stream to promote it for you on Enlightened Conversations. I think that would be really nice for you, to support you and to support your mission and what you're doing. And it's beautiful and it's next level stuff. And I really love it because it is about transforming our thought processes from being, thinking that things are happening and victimizing us to stepping into something more truthful, really, which is, again, that extension of your first book. Yeah.
Well, yeah, interestingly enough, with the third book, I actually cover the victim mentality, and I don't use victim right throughout it. So I said, I'm not calling you a victim. You're just a target because you just happen to be there. But at the end of the day, you're a survivor where you prosper. So, the victim, it's not about this has been done to me. It is about I've found myself in this situation. So we just, in those situations, you just find yourself as part of caught up in the problem. So it's about differentiating between that as well and not taking it personally either.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many people, I think it's a really pertinent topic at the moment. People are just, becoming so much more, I guess, aware of the nuances with it, the little sly little nuances of bullying, where it isn't just, obviously with the Me Too stuff, it is very out there about the sexual abuse more now, like insofar as the sort of sexual manipulation or, harassment, that kind of thing. But I guess, just from an energetic perspective, bullying is just literally is about looking to sort of disempower. And I often see a lot of judgment about the bully, but if you rewind it enough, you see where that all stemmed from, and I find that fascinating as well. I watch a lot of. Do you watch Netflix at all?
No, don't.
Oh, don't you? There's this show I really love, and it's because it's forensic, and I'm a bit like you. I worked in child safety and built the intake system from the ground up. That was my job. So I'm a systems-oriented person. Anyway, but I love this show called Forensic Files because it's based on actual murders that have happened, but how they've actually used science to actually break the case, maybe after 20 years, sometimes it's earlier, but, it could be a long time. And one of the things that I really, because they're so old, and a lot of these cases are so old, they go through the whole history almost of not only the victims, if you like, or the targets, but also the person doing it. Now, I don't think they resolve it, I think, it kind of falls short there. Okay, we got that. But at the same time, I take it further, and I go onto the internet and I research this perpetrator and I understand more about them, and I understand how perhaps this forensic file episode was actually done maybe 10 years ago now, because there's like 9 seasons. It's like, 400 episodes. So for me, it's like going, oh, where are they now? What are they doing? And what were the insights? And and to understand, get that bigger picture. What is it? What is their story? And I think, I agree. It's great to unravel and decompress the being a target mentality into an empowered mentality. But I also think that when we do that, we can then gain enough objectivity to look at the other person and go, what's going on with them really? It's not about me at all. So what's going on over there? And that's more interesting rather than unforgiving.
Yeah, and that's really, again, separating the person from the behaviour, because it's everyone has challenges, and there also comes the element of free will, about understanding and respecting that some people just don't want to change, and that is totally okay, because they are the key person on who decides how they want to evolve in this life. But again, it is also up to someone else's free will whether they accept that behaviour that's coming from them. It's about empowering them to say yes or no. And it also provides an avenue for the people that undertake those behaviours to look at themselves. But a lot of them don't want to.
Yeah, and do you cover spiritual contracts at all, like talking about that in your books, like about how maybe these agreements between bully and victim, these roles were kind of organised, and so perhaps do you cover any of that?
I'm covering it to a certain degree. I'm also covering on soul ties, how they can form, and why it's important to actually, cut those with love as well. To be able to be
enough
free
now.
Yeah.
Enough now. I've learned that lesson. I'm ready to move on now.
That's it. And I think it also comes to that as well. Like when we go through something and you just go, oh, I've had enough. How much more? And then you actually decide that, no, I've had enough. I'm going to make some changes. So that's where the assertiveness, or, where anger arises in people about how they're being treated, that they can transform that into assertiveness and empowerment in the most healthy way. About standing up.
I agree, hun. And do you talk about the energy centers at all? Like because when I was delivering Lightworker practitioner training before it was just online, like when I was actually doing the actual courses, and when my students used to get to level 5, we hit solar plexus. And what would usually happen at that time when we hit solar plexus is they would really start to get in touch with a lot of anger that they had stored in there from, which is understandable why in Chinese medicine the liver and the gallbladder is all about anger and stuff, because it would unleash, and they'd start to, you could see it go from one extreme too, from disempowering to kind of almost a bit arrogant, because they're like sort of someone's turned a switch on. Oh, God. But it comes back in the middle, but there's a lot of anger there, and there's a lot of, how do I allow this? It's self-anger, anger towards other people, but also it's like, actually, it's time for me. Now I've got the energy, like you're saying, like this energy, and it comes in. Do you cover the energy centers at all, or is it just mainly just talking about energy in general? Or
in my second book, I cover all the chakras.
Cool.
And the positive. While working the chakra in the positive and the negative, because I believe the chakras work in two ways. You either enhance a particular spectrum of it on one side of the spectrum, and then if you're in the out of harmony element, there's also the things that we need to look at in order to come back into center. So I do cover it in my second book. I don't cover it in the third book, but I do cover, I guess, the lessons that we're here to learn about it. Also understanding it's okay to actually speak up, because I think one of my biggest gripes, I guess you can say, is that we tell people who are in these situations to, just ignore it, it'll go away, just ignore it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest disempowering things that we can, the advice that we can give to someone, to say, oh, don't worry about it. If they don't care, and if they have an attitude of like, whatever, I don't care, totally fine. But if there's some soul, some soul hurt that's happening there, it's so important to actually allow that person to speak and be authentic for themselves, and to say, just simply, no, I don't appreciate it. So I also cover on how we deal with, how we as people who observe it, what we do, and how that also impacts, because it does cover on the spirituality perspective, where we are here to help each other, and ignoring it or not stepping in and doing the right thing not only impacts the person that's being targeted, but impacts the observer as well, because we're not living authentically. So again, it's dealing with it, to try, because I think it's become acceptable today, and I'm challenging that. I'm saying, why is it acceptable? In primary schools, we have about in the book, I also put statistics. So I look at statistics in Australia. In Australia, within secondary schools, we've got just under 1 million school children who are bullied every year. That included about 60,000 cyberbullying cases that was reported in secondary schools, and about 20,000 of them were serious enough to report to the police. And it's an epidemic, and I think we've got I did the calculations that I've come to is about 48% of Australians have experienced some type of bullying in the past year. That's almost 50%. So I'm saying, I'm going to challenge it. You know, I'll put it out there, allow people to empower themselves, but also bring it to the forefront and say, what are we doing, especially as spiritual beings, to actually, you know, put some peace into those situations? Because if we're not...
And peace doesn't equate to abandonment of self or other people. Emotional abandonment is a form of abuse, and I'm calling it. I love what you said. I love what you said, because being silent and not exercising our voice is not actually healthy. And I'm going to name it. It's emotional abuse. It's emotional abuse to other people, and it's emotional abuse to ourselves, because it is a form of emotional abandonment, and that is abuse. And neglect. Neglect is actually abuse. So from that point of view, I want to validate you 1,000,000% on that message, because it's such a huge message. To be silent means to condone it, and so let's stop condoning it. So thank you, Kaye. I'm going to have to wrap it up. If you want to get in touch with Kaye, Kaye, the wonderful, delightful, amazing, and very what I would call warrior like energy, speaking up for so much today in this you know, bullying epidemic that we have been experiencing. And if you want to know more about how to get empowered and how to reach out for help, please contact Kaye. And kaye.com is the website. And thank you so much for joining us today and speaking your message. I really felt it, and it's really dear to my heart. And I thank you so much for the good work you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much. And God bless you. Thank you.
Blessings to you, sweetheart. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, actually, I've got a couple of announcements. I'll just say my announcements before I say goodbye to everybody. I've got on the 13th, on the 13th of April, we have Raul Estevez, and he's actually hosting a show with the insightful Pretty Mystery, which I love her name. Pretty is a soulpreneur and is most sought after for her signature soul growth program. Besides being a qualified graphologist and graphotherapist, she is also a certified angel practitioner, a certified fairyologist, oracle card reader, realm reader, and Bach flower practitioner. Beautiful little concoction there. She's also, this is really interesting, I'm really looking forward to this because for a number of reasons. She has created and published her book on sacred geometry, mandalas and yantras called Soul Art Therapy, A Sacred Geometry Experience. And it's a colouring book for all ages. The beauty and uniqueness about this book is that all mandalas and yantras herein come to her as divine downloads in meditation. So I'm really looking forward to that. I want to wish you all a wonderful Easter, and I want to invite you to remember that we are in a continual process of growth and restoration with no beginning and no end, just an invitation to always step up to our next level. Until next time, everybody, lots and lots of love to you. I'm Michelle Lightworker. This is Enlightened Conversations, where we plan to enlighten the planet one conversation at a time. Love yous. Bye.